Hi, I'm Pam East, and I cannot draw. Maybe I can draw a little bit, but I couldn't always. I don't have any natural talent. I don't have any innate ability. When I was a kid, my eye-hand coordination was so bad that just writing was physically painful for me. They had to send me to classes, special classes, to work on those skills just to catch me up with my peers. Drawing? No way. So I carried this belief with me into adulthood. I cannot draw. And it was a very, very long time before I even tried. And when I did finally start working some things out on paper, I didn't do it to create something beautiful. I did it to just work out some jewelry designs. I had already been working with jewelry for a long time, and I wanted to start working some ideas out on paper before I started committing them to metal. So believe me, I get it. I get how intimidating and uncomfortable and overwhelming it is to have that blank sheet of paper in front of you and the pencil in your hand and nothing in your head. You've got a million voices telling you in your head, you can't do it. I can't do it. And it's a waste of paper. I'm going to waste the materials. And I don't even know where to start. That's the biggest one. I don't even know where to start. So that's what this video is about. This is some tips and tricks and ideas to get started, how to just overcome those barriers and get started. Is it going to teach you to make great art you can be proud to show off? No, that's not what this is for. This is for visual note taking. It's for a way of writing, drawing some stuff out so that you can develop ideas. And so that when you don't know what to make, you can sit down and you've got some tricks to get you started and that you can work from. It's a way of developing ideas without fear. It's just for you and no one else. So there's no judgment. Nobody's going to be grading you. If all you do is scribble on the paper, that's fine because no one else is going to see it. It's just for you. I'm going to talk about two different approaches. One with an actual journal, and so this is a paper journal. And also I'm going to talk about drawing on tablets. I'm going to start with the journal. And if you are going to go this route, I recommend getting what I call a dot journal, or it is called a dot journal. So hopefully you can see the little dots. And they're very unobtrusive, so you can see your design easily. I don't like drawing on lined paper. Drawing on a dot journal gives me some guidance or compass points I can use as reference without impacting the drawing itself. So this is my chosen form of sketchbook. I don't use blank pages. As for tablets and other electronic methods, I have an iPad Pro with a pencil. This is probably the very best. But you can draw on any tablet. You can even draw on your phone. There are lots of ways to do there are little drawing programs for every electronic format out there, whether you have Android, whether you have Apple products, whether you have a big tablet, a small tablet, a phone, there's an app that you can draw on. And I'm going to be showing some approaches for both. I'm going to start with drawing on paper because buying a sketchbook is easy. Anybody can buy a sketchbook. You probably have 3 at home right now. So the first technique that I want to talk about, I call reducing your options. And one of the big problems with a big blank sheet of paper is it's just overwhelming. You have to reduce your choices. You have to eliminate options to make it approachable. And I recommend using a template. So find a template that speaks to you. This is a little kite shape that I like. I use this one a lot. And then once you've chosen your shape, just go ahead and draw it out multiple times on the page, over and over and over, just rows and rows and rows. So, I could keep going. I can fill up this whole page with these kite shapes. This amount of space is much easier to approach than a big blank page. So, and I've got endless numbers of them. So if I screw one up, who cares? I've got another one waiting in line. And then I'm going to just start drawing some design in this. I'm going to do like that. Well, that's pretty ugly. So maybe I want to do circles. And look, I'm not doing anything great here. I'm just trying out ideas and seeing where they take me. Um, and I'll start developing. Oh, this one's nice. So here I've got something nice going on. I like it better than any of these. So maybe I'm going to riff off of that. I'm going to say, all right, well, I like that this has got 3 sections and I like kind of this curve, but it's a little too regular. So maybe I'll make it a little less regular. And I start developing the idea, but it started with just scribbling in this constrained space. One thing about creativity, and people go, "Oh, well, I don't have any ideas," or I've got a mental block," or whatever. You have to open the door. And so, how do you open the door for creativity? I find that I am at my most creative while I'm creating. That's what opens the door. I have to create first to open up the creativity. So I'll start with something like this. I'm just playing with a shape. And this one happens to be a kite, could be a circle, could be a square, could be an oval. It doesn't matter. Just pick a template, draw it over and over, and start scribbling. And I don't care if you just scribble. Get the pencil on the paper and start messing around and see what happens. You know, oh, well, see, now that's starting to look interesting. So what can I do with that? Well, now I'm going to slow down and see if I can bring it in a little more. And it's just playing with one shape. And this is what I mean by constraining your choices or eliminating options. I don't have limitless options. Whatever I do has to fit in that kite. And that is a really good trick for getting started. And as you keep doing it, several things are going to happen. One, you're going to stop being afraid of sticking the pencil on the paper because you look at this great big paper and you're like almost shaking, trying to figure out where to start and what to do. Well, you've just taken all of that away. You just draw all of this, you draw this template shape over and over, you start putting stuff in it, and then when you see something interesting, you develop it. That's how you start working on design. And as you're doing it, the creativity is going to open up. It's not going to be pretty at first. Your lines might be shaky. It doesn't matter. Remember, this is just for you, and you are getting over your fear of putting the pencil on the paper, and you're training your eye-hand coordination. So even if you're not very good at it to start with, if you fill a whole notebook with this stuff, after a while, you're going to get more confident. And as you get more confident, those lines are going to come easier. You just have to do it over and over and over so that when you start thinking about a line, you can put it down. You're not struggling to send the message from your brain to your pencil. And that only comes from actually drawing and drawing badly. You have to draw badly before you can get any better. And this is something I literally do all the time. I'm not just telling you to do it, I do it. So like, here's some designs that I was working on. And I liked this shape of a circle inside of a circle. So I drew pages of them and I was just trying out different things inside of that to see what I could come up with. And here I was trying to come up with this pear shape, and I was using the dot journal as a guidance to do the pear shape. Here's another one. Here's a whole page. I was doing some color tests. I wanted to come up with some ideas for an easy project that I could teach with. So I actually really use this technique, and I think it can help you a lot. So I'll bet there have been times when you have had absolutely no inspiration at all, and somebody has told you, go for a walk, right? They go outside, get inspiration from nature, look at trees, look at flowers, look at leaves, look at bugs, look at birds. They're trying to get you to go take in inspiration. And you can see it in architecture, you can see it, you can go to a museum. There's a lot of places you can go to see design in nature, man-made, whatever. And if you're like me or like I was, you would say, all right, so I did that. I went out and I looked, but I still don't have a design in my head. How do I get from looking at trees and birds to a design, a jewelry design? What are the steps that get me from looking at things to making something? And there is a lot of answers to that. Every artist is going to have a different answer. Some of them just have that peacefulness opens up their mind and creativity starts. Some of them might see a shape and that shape inspires them. There's a lot of different ways of taking inspiration from nature or architecture or the world around us. I'm going to show you one idea because it's really the only one that's ever worked for me. Because remember, I can't draw, right? So I'm not the kind of person that's going to be out there with my sketchbook drawing a realistic portrait of nature. So what can you do? So you all have a camera, right? So go out and take pictures. Take pictures of an interesting little architectural detail. Take pictures of flowers and leaves and bugs and, get your camera going. And don't worry, you're not making, again, this is just for you. This is not for you to show off. It's not for you to post on Facebook. It's just for you to use as design inspiration. And once you have some of these things, go ahead and print them out. And here's a printout of some things from my yard. Actually, the ginkgos were downtown, but the rest of this was from around here. This is this is the seat of one of my patio chairs. These were some early crocuses. This is a maple that was turning. So you can go out and you can take these photos and then you can actually print them out on paper. And then we're going to trace. And for a lot of fine artists, trace is a dirty word. But for us, it's not, because we're not doing this to say, oh, look, I traced this. Look, I made this beautiful picture. We're trying to work on design and developing a design. And tracing is just fine. There's nothing wrong with tracing. So I'm going to do a trace. And this is vellum. And it comes in 8.5 by 11 sheets like this. And I just cut mine up into little pieces. And now I'm going to take that and I'm going to lay it over this and I'm going to do a trace. So like I'm going to do a ginkgo leaf. And I'm not being real careful because I don't want you to be watching me for hours. And I chose one of the simpler shapes. And there's like a line that goes down there. And there's a little shadow here. And voila, I have a trace of a ginkgo leaf. And I can start to do something with that to refine it into some sort of a design. This one is really, I thought this chair was really interesting because there's a lot going on there. And this is a cast iron patio set. And you could start tracing this, or you could even fill in the black parts. It doesn't have to be a line trace. It could be filling in the black parts and seeing what you end up with. And I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you can see that you start getting this interesting design going. And this interesting design, that could become something. And I might say, well, that's interesting, but it's not quite right. I'm going to do some refining off of that. I'm going to riff off of that. So now I'm tracing my tracing. I did a trace, and now I'm going to put another piece of tracing paper over this. And I'm going to start working this into something. Right? And I'm doing a trace of a trace. And this trace and refine, you can keep tracing and refining as many times as it takes. You know, you can just keep doing it. So this has started to become a little more interesting. Um, it's got almost a shell-like quality to it now. Here's another piece of tracing paper. I'm going to go over it again. And now I'm going to start, you know, really working out the lines because I like where it's going. I didn't like that circle. I'm going to eliminate that. And I'm just refining the design. And you can see how it's developing. And so you can make these traces of traces of traces, and you can really expand a design or simplify a design, all starting from the seat of a patio chair or a leaf or whatever it is that you've taken a picture of. Taking it one step further, maybe now I'm going to add in one of my templates, right? So I'm going to trace my template here. Whoops, I slipped. No big deal. And I'm going to lay that on this design that I came up with. And now something really interesting is starting to happen, right? It's starting to become something it wasn't before. And I can keep doing that. And look, I'm starting to get something very interesting going on here that all started with a patio chair. And that's how you start moving from what you saw in nature or architecture or whatever you're taking photos of, and you start building it into a design. It's trace and refine, trace and refine, trace and refine. So there's a few ideas that are going to get you started with paper and pencil. In part 2 of this series, I'm going to be talking about digital drawing, and you're not going to want to miss that because digital drawing is when I really progressed. When I switched from paper and pencil to digital, I started getting a lot better, a lot faster. And I've got some fabulous tips and tricks to show you on digital drawing. I think you're really going to enjoy it. So subscribe so that you don't miss it, and I'll see you next time.